Hi, I'm here with Dr. Johnny Wade. He is a chiro extraordinaire from Bayes Chiropractic. He's been my chiropractor for a number of years now, and I was just talking earlier about the importance of chiropractic and how it can maintain your overall functioning, your strength, your mass building, your conditioning, your overall health, your dealing with stress, all that kind of thing, but especially when prepping for competition and even in the off season. So one of the things that I notice the most with people, whether they're coming to me for posing or whether they're just starting out with me for their coaching, is when they complain about twisting throughout a squat or feeling a decrease in power with either a shoulder press or a squat. So what I want to talk with Johnny about today is what actually happens there. So some of you guys will be able to relate. You know, when you're going into a barbell squat and you start to go down and then you feel maybe one side where you're kind of starting to load onto one leg, and you might feel a little bit of a rotation in the pelvis. You feel that decrease in stability and the decrease in the strength there, or maybe it's on the way up. So what actually happens there, Johnny, when your body gives you those signs? What's happening neurologically?
So what the body's doing is it's actually whispering to you and trying to tell you that there's some sort of problem there. Now it can go two ways. It can either be a mechanical issue, or it can be a neurological, or actually there can be three. It can be a combination of both of them.
Wow.
Now, basically what we're going to look at first is the joint side of things and the mechanics. Now, it probably won't be happening for you guys in those first sets. It'll be like the third set, rep 10, when you're starting to show fatigue.
Yeah,
this is
when
when
the load is at its sort of, it's decreasing.
When the body's starting to fatigue, this is when the cracks will appear, so to speak. This is when you'll start to see these weaknesses show up. Because obviously you guys are functioning at a high level, lifting a lot of weight, but you guys are not your Honda Accords. You guys are the Ferraris, you know, of the world, and we want to make sure that we keep you operating like that. And so what can happen is some of these joints get slightly restricted. Okay, so from a mechanical point of view, the function changes. Now, when you're exercising, so for instance, you're in that squat and you may be down in that position and you come up and you might dip out to one side, that is your body talking to you and saying that, hey, this joint is restricted and it's causing the body and the weight to all shift over to the easier side to compensate for that. Now, there can also be a neurological reason which can be caused from that mechanics being out of alignment too, is it starts to put pressure on the nerve. Okay?
Wow.
Now that nerve, the job of that nerve is to transmit a signal from the brain through the spine and through the joint out to that muscle. Now, if that nerve has been impinged and there is nerve interference somewhere along that track, then that muscle was not able to fire as much as, say, the opposite side. Now, it will most likely show up once again at the end of your sets or when you're really starting to fatigue, because that muscle is not able to operate as efficient as the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, and so that explains that decrease in power.
Yep.
And how you feel like it's just going nowhere.
That's
like
it.
You're actually stuck.
And for bodybuilders, you guys aren't averse to looking in the mirrors, so you guys are great people to actually deal with, because you guys see these changes, and this is why talking to your chiropractor about them, they should love it as well, because you guys watch for perfect symmetry and form. I mean, if you see one of these dips, you start recruiting other muscles. Maybe you start using the trap comes into play when you're doing shoulder raises when it shouldn't. This is something that you should report back to your chiropractor or report back to Joe for some advice.
Definitely.
As this is where the performance side of that chiropractic really comes into play.
And if you're doing that consistently and you're cheating through that form because of that sort of short circuit in the neuromuscular system, then you're going to be training asymmetrically. That's going to affect your symmetry overall on stage. So that's when we start to see physiques with that sort of asymmetry in terms of the balance with maybe one lat compared to the other, or one rhomboid compared to the other, one delt bigger, or one glute bigger. Yes. You know, and on stage, obviously your symmetry is the most important thing. So that's why it's important to keep your spine aligned so you're training symmetrically.
That's exactly right. And then if you look at it on a chronic level, so like if this condition and that nerve has been affected over a long period of time, some of the obvious signs will be that you may not be able to lift the same amount of weight, or that side will fatigue a little bit quicker. And a lot of people put that down to, oh, well, I'm right-handed, so my left hand's weaker. That's not necessarily the case. It can be that there is that nerve interference which is stopping the power signal from the brain getting to, for instance, let's say the deltoids, and you may only be able to do 7 on that left side, and you may do 10 on that side. And then all of a sudden, what does that transform to? Because let's put numbers on it. That nerve coming to the left deltoid's functioning at 95%, and this side's at 100. Then the growth can only occur to 95%, and this one can be at 100%.
That's right.
And for you guys, symmetry is absolutely key.
It is.
And that's where the adjustments can release the joint. So from a mechanical point of view, you can get things functioning freely and more efficiently, but also releasing that nerve can then open up that body's ability to well, for number one, have symmetry, but then get that nervous system functioning as optimal as possible.
Absolutely. And then the closer we get to competition, the more stressed our bodies become, especially as we start to apply the peak week. And because you know what happens in peak week, you know when you have that big water load and deplete, you might have a sodium load and a deplete, you're on a carb deplete, then you're on a carb load. So we're asking a lot of our bodies on our peak week, and our systems get so stressed, and that's the time to make sure that you've gone back into your chiropractor. I usually would come and see Johnny twice on my peak week if I can, because sometimes my system or my spine will be different at the end of the week compared to at the start of the week.
Absolutely.
So lots of changes can occur in that week, and I need to know that I've got perfect symmetry on stage, because that's what helps me win. So, you know, it was always a priority for me getting into Johnny on my peak week.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, with what you guys do is not too user-friendly on the old body, and especially the nervous system. I mean, if you just take, let alone the water loading alone, and then you go from drinking lots and lots of water, and then you start dehydrating your body, I mean, your nervous system really doesn't like that.
It takes a hammering.
So and that nervous system is inside of that spine, and that controls everything that you do. The cracks start to appear.
Absolutely.
So some of those areas where you've had some issues in the past, this is when they're really gonna flare up, and it may not be pain, there may not be any symptoms associated with it, but it'll be that, you know, that contraction, that balance, and quite likely the posture as well can change around this, and that's where these adjustments. I have a pretty standard schedule for bodybuilding clients leading up to their comp, so we make sure that we can stay on top of that.
Exactly, and then you know that when you get on stage, your condition is going to be on point, your symmetry is going to be on point, and your posing is going to flow a lot more easily, because you're going to be able to have that rotation and that sort of mobilization of the shoulder joints and the pelvis and that kind of thing to make your poses look so aesthetic. So it's just, you know, it really is a secret that a lot of people don't understand, and usually they'll just say, oh, I don't really have time for it, and I don't think it works anyway. But yeah, it's so crucial. So hope you guys have learned a lot about this today, and if you've got any questions, please just fire them through in the comments below. And what's the best way to know that the chiropractor that you're seeing is a good one? So say you've just started, and you know, just like there are, you know, bad physios and bad doctors and, you know, bad coaches, how do you know when you've got a good one?
That can be a bit of a tricky question, because it's one thing I'd look for is go through their page if they've got an Instagram or a website and check to see that they're dealing with athletes.
Right.
Now, I definitely really recommend someone who does the manual adjusting. Okay, rather than the instrument side of things, because then they're really going to function on the mechanics side of things, but also the nervous system side of it too.
Right. X-rays?
X-rays are really crucial too, because what that does is it takes the guessing out of the game. Okay, because to see is to know, and not is to guess, really.
Yes, exactly.
And by taking a set of X-rays, we can see exactly what condition your spine's in. So we can see if there's any curves or kinks, or if there's been any compromise to any of those joints between those 25 bones in your spine, or wherever the joint is that they're looking into. Then we can see a reason why. Maybe there's some arthritis, or maybe there's some spinal decay, or maybe there's something else there. But it takes that guessing out of it. And then what we can see also if there's curves is then we know which way to make the correction, because we don't want you standing on stage with a lopsided shoulder like this if we make the wrong adjustment.
That's right. Exactly, and we see that a lot. Cool. Well, thank you for your time today, Johnny. Really appreciate it. I'm sure this has been very informative. Alright guys, comment below if you've got any further questions. Thanks for tuning in.